bottom half of the NFL. You know, I was looking at average starting field position because this is a big part of the game, right? If they're giving up 4 first downs per possession and you're starting on, let's just say, the 35 instead of the 20, you'll get yourself in field goal range on average. You don't want to kick field goals, but I mean, you need to make the most of every possession that you have. Yeah. And so, you know, the return game, the special teams this year through 3 games has been, wow, what a roller coaster. Last week, outstanding. The first 2 weeks, a disaster. Look for small things. Small things matter. Flags on kick and punt returns, right? I mean, those aren't 10-yard penalties. They're never 10-yard penalties. They're like 30-yard penalties because it's from the point of the foul, right? So if you hold on a 35-yard kickoff return, but you're held at the 15, now you're half the distance of the goal. Those are extraordinarily punitive.
Yeah, it was killers.
And so, I mean, as you start to add up these little things and those hidden yards, that's huge in this game. Huge in this game, given how they let you move the chains.
Guys, is this a game where we saw last week Baltimore went for 2 a lot, right?
Yep.
Because that's what the analytics told them. They had to do it.
Yep.
Is this a game where you see Patricia and the Lions going for it on 4th down when they normally wouldn't do stuff like that? Where they got to keep a drive alive or they got to try to score touchdowns, right?
Well, I would hope that I'm not going to go by the analytics on that. I think you go by the flow of the game with that. If you're talking going for it on 4th and 1 from near midfield, taking the chance, I hope they do because I like when teams do that. I'll never argue with somebody who wants to go for near midfield on 4th and 1. If you're talking about going for it on like 4th and 5
from your own 35,
then I'm going to have a problem.
But this is one of those games where you need risk to get reward, don't you? You play it safe, you're probably not going to win. I guess in your mind, where's that gray area? Yeah, closer to midfield at best?
If I had faith in the Lions' run blocking.
I was just going to say, this also turns into how much confidence do you have?
I don't have a lot of confidence in the run blocking.
How much confidence do you have in the defense? That, okay, you know, maybe I don't have to take this risk because I can trust my defense. If we kick it, we can pin them deep, and we're fine. But because it's the almighty Chiefs, nobody in town, except for maybe people at Ford Field, are feeling like, it's okay, we got this. Nobody's feeling that way.
248-539-9797. Zeke in Detroit. What's up, Zeke?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, Zeke?
How you doing?
Good.
So, my key to winning for the Lions Sunday is 2 things. The offense has to answer Mahomes when they score. They cannot go on these droughts without scoring all these 3-and-out possessions. The defense have to keep them to a minimum. They can't score over 24 points. If it be a shootout, the Lions lose. If they can minimize their scoring and the Lions can answer them and sustain drive, that's going to be the key, and control that clock. They can beat Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll be 3-0-1, baby.
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of the same stuff being said, but I think it's kind of obvious, and I appreciate that Milliken from the morning show says, no, I believe in a shootout. You got to get to 34. That's your goal. Get to 34. And I was on board, and then I took a look at it, and the more I looked at it, I said, no, I'm not gonna. I don't want to play the game that way. I think it's moving the chains. I think it's keeping it off the field. Here's the thing about Patricia's defenses too. Patricia's defense gives up a lot of yards. It did in New England, and it might here in Detroit when it's all said and done. But the key is keeping them out of the end zone. Got to keep them out of the end zone.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Not easy to do. And their quarterback is he's got 10 touchdown passes in 3 games. He's averaging 400 yards a game passing. He's unbelievable.
Well,
but it's not like every once in a while you're going to have a clunker.
Mm-hmm.
You can. This is one of those things that, okay, they're going to have their clunker on Sunday.
Well,
the Chiefs going to be overconfident.
They're not unbeatable. I mean,
they're not unbeatable. It's not the greatest team I've ever seen. They're not a complete team. They have an outstanding offense, which is a little banged up, by the way.
Feedback coming into the Karsch and Anderson inbox. The music pumps me up. Lions 34, Chiefs 27. One pride. That's from an unnamed texter. This Sunday against the Chiefs is probably the biggest game of the year. This is a swing game for the season. If they win, things are looking up, and we need this W this week bad. Somehow pull it off, Lions. I've been saying it for a while. The Lions will beat Kansas City. They will win time of possession by a large margin. The Lions will drive down the field, slowly eating up the clock. Kansas City has an awful defense. If they have the chance, the Lions will take the ball first. The Lions will be eating W's and T's all season.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, how do we eat a T, Gator?
Well, you kind of pick it with your teeth.
Not the same as the W.
No, it's not the same. Really, what a T is that you're chewing it up, and eventually what's left is like a bone, and you spit that out. That's a T. It's not as good.
Kansas City will not punt in the first half. They'll put up over 40 on the Lions. The Lions will not score 21 points.
Well, my concern with the score 34 theory is that if the Lions score 34, I have the feeling that Kansas City is going to score 50.
Well,
because that's the shootout mentality you can get into, and I don't. You're not going to win a shootout. Not against them.
It doesn't seem likely, but the Lions' offense, I think, is capable of putting up big numbers. But the idea that you just have to be better at their game than they are seems so unlikely.
Wasn't the formula against the Patriots and even the Rams that they held the Rams back, right? They had defensive schemes where they held the ball. They controlled the clock. I think that's the formula for this. Yeah, you can't play the Chiefs at their own game. I don't agree with that philosophy.
Well, that Chiefs-Rams game was chock full of interceptions and turnovers, wasn't it?
No, but I'm talking about the Lions against the Rams and the Lions against the Patriots last year, where the Patriots used the Lions, apparently their philosophy in the Super Bowl, to beat the Rams. And when the Lions beat the Patriots last year, it was ball control, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's what they got to do this weekend.
100%. They have to. In my opinion, I agree. Control the football. Limit the possessions that the Chiefs have. And you do that by having long, drawn-out drives of your own. But they can't do it unless they have a running game.
I 100% would agree with you guys. Got to slow this game down and go on those 12-play drives that you got to finish with touchdowns. Well, look, the team that did the best against them last year was Arizona. Arizona, of all teams, had 2 12-play drives, an 11-play drive, and a 10-play drive. If I do the best against them, I mean they limit them to 26 points. That's their lowest offensive output in 2 years.
Let's understand why we always say running game, too. You have to get the running game going. It's because it means you're not dropping passes, and if you drop passes, the clock stops. And the clock can be your enemy or it can be your friend, depending on how you work it. They have to make sure that the clock is not stopping. When Stafford does drop back the pass, complete the passes.
Do people look at the Eagles game at all differently because of what happened last night? And should they?
People look at
the Lions win over the Eagles differently because the Eagles went to Green Bay and won. And should they look at it differently?
I mean, I don't look at it differently, so I don't know. If I'm asking for myself.
You don't think you're not more impressed that the Lions went into Philly and won?
No.
Okay.
I'm not more impressed by it. I'm fine with it. I think the Eagles made so many mistakes in that game, and Alshon Jeffrey did not play, and that's a big part.
Yep.
It's a huge part.
Yep.
And you know what I think of the Packers. So.
Yeah, you think they're falling apart. You think this is the year. There it is. When Rodgers led him on the drive at the end of the first half last night, and they had like the 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 7. Well, I don't even remember. It was 3rd and long. And he threw an absolute duck, a helicopter, 20 yards downfield, right on the money. Like dropped it over a linebacker and in front of a safety, right to his guy. I was like, you got to be kidding me with that.
Yeah, and then he was trying to force things at the end yesterday or last night and ended up paying for it with an interception that sealed the deal for the Eagles. Because he's crackling.
What are we talking about? Beat the Chiefs? This team survived 3 unimpressive games. A team where the over-under wins was like 6.5. They aren't beating the Chiefs. They'll lose by 20 plus. Look, I mean, okay, I get the cynicism, bro. But
where's the Karsch Casino?
Well, let's go back to last year. Are the Lions a bigger underdog tomorrow, or are they a bigger underdog last year against New England?
I don't recall what
I said tomorrow again. It's Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday. Game day. Game day. Uncensored.
I'll have to look at what that point spread was. But, yeah, we're going to talk about it. Of course we're going to talk about it.
Well, they're 6.5-point dogs. They're not 22.5-point dogs.
No. No, they're not. And they're at home. Things happen in the NFL that surprise you all the time. I can't help but feel like there's a little bit of Lions momentum going on, that they see the chance here to be undefeated after 4 games, the only team in the division that has to fire them up a little bit. By the way, last year the Lions were a 7-point dog against the Patriots and beat them by 16.
This is eerily similar.
248-539-9797. There is something about Sunday's game that has me really surprised. And the only person that can answer this is actually the fan. It's not you. It's not me. It's not any Lions insider. It's the fan. We'll get to that at 10:35. 97.1 The Ticket.